Friends Life Care VigR, a podcast where we explore what it's like getting older, the peaks, the valleys, and everything in between. In this season of Honestly Aging, we're exploring the many experiences that shape vibrant aging. I'm your host, Cheryl Praska. Let's grow old together. Today on Honestly Aging, I'm joined by Friends Life Care member Gerrie Schmidt for a conversation about active aging, staying engaged, and continuing to do the things that bring meaning and joy to our lives as we grow older. Gerrie, welcome to Honestly Aging, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I'm delighted to be here.
So, before we talk about active aging, I'd love to give our listeners a chance to get to know you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your life looks like today?
Well, I'd be happy to. My husband and I spent our working and child rearing years in the New York area. So we both had heavy pressure jobs, a lot of commuting, and of course, kids in school and so forth. So we never had much time to devote to taking advantage of the city that we lived in near New York. So one of the things when we decided to retire is that we wanted to be urban. And we had been living in Philly when we were first married a bazillion years before. So we just decided to come back to Philadelphia, and that was about 18 years ago.
So, what are some of the activities and interests or people that keep you busy and bring you joy?
You know what? Everything I do brings me joy. We're having such a good time after all of the prior stress that I just described. But the main thing is that we have recently decided to compress our bucket list for travel.
Mhm.
So lately we're doing a lot of traveling because, honestly, first of all, the world is changing a lot. And second of all, we don't know how long we will have the energy to do this. We just don't know. So we're trying to smush it to the degree we can. I mean, one of the first things we did when we moved to Philly was subscribe to the orchestra. So we go to a lot of musical performances. We love that, mainly the orchestra, but also some other things. We like jazz. Um, we joined an organization you may be familiar with called Friends in the City. That was practically the minute that I retired. We did that because I'd been working virtually here for 2 years before I retired, and we knew no one. So we were early joiners of Friends in the City, and we've been a part of that organization ever since. It's now got over 650 members. So that provides a lot of different activities, and I would say that's like the main social engine for us right now. I do yoga several times a week and I exercise. I love webinars and podcasts on just all kinds of weird subjects. So I listen to anything. And I'm also an avid indoor gardener. So
Mm.
taken all together, that keeps me pretty busy. Oh, and I do volunteer work.
So, have you always been someone who likes to stay active and involved, or has this become more important as you've gotten older?
This is retirement life. I mean, when we were working and had the kids and commuting, which was significant in the New York area, that was our whole life. There was no possibility to do other kinds of things. So we
Mhm.
really didn't have a chance. And when I first retired, I was a little worried about it. It was kind of a challenge. What do you do if you have nothing to do?
Mm.
Um, so we moved back to Philly in part for that reason, because you can't live in Center City, Philadelphia and not have something to do. There's just too much here. I'd say that we're having a great time so far.
Your husband, too?
Yeah, for sure.
Good. So, we often hear about the importance of staying active as we get older, but being active can mean something different to everyone. I'd love to hear your take on when you hear the words active aging. What does that personally mean to you?
I think it means that you have a rare opportunity to do whatever you want in the time that is in front of you. Um, but I've just observed myself that it's a lot easier if you start by protecting your physical strength and resiliency.
Mm.
One of the things that I've learned through experience is that the more you do, even if it's tiny things, the more you do, the more you can do. People are sometimes afraid to push past a little pain, but anybody in my age group has got a little pain. So the only way to deal with it is to push past it, with some exceptions for serious conditions, understandably.
And I liked what you said. Essentially, if you don't use it, you might lose it. So if you start giving up certain aspects of mobility or socialization or the things that you like, your world can start becoming a bit smaller. And then that does start creating its own problems. So
Remember the pandemic?
I mean, I struggled with that because I love to be around people. So I mean, that really decreased a lot of my mental stimulation and socializing. So yeah, I mean, I personally struggled with that.
Well, this is the kind of resilience that that experience helps to enable, I think.
Hmm. And so going back to the active aging and staying active and involved, what would you say that really adds to your life? Really focusing, making this a focus of your retirement.
Well, I think I kind of said it before. We worked very hard for a very long time, and we totally regard this as our opportunity to have fun and pursue interesting adventures. Um, n Neither of us is too good about being bored. I suspect you're that way too. So here we are in Philadelphia. You wake up in the morning and literally a million things are at your feet that you could choose to do that day, from volunteer work to cultural activities to history, anything you want.
This is a bit of a side question, but living in Philadelphia before and now for 18 years, what are some of your favorite things about Philadelphia?
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you a very quick story. So I grew up in a military family, so I lived in some really blah places, a lot of really blah places. And then I went to college in Washington, D.C., which at that time, which was a long time ago, was still fairly blah. We moved to Philly and I saw all these different neighborhoods and all these different ethnicities and all of this historical and cultural opportunity. And, we kind of fell in love with it. I personally believe that Philadelphia is a really terrific place to spend this time in life.
Mm-hmm. So, how would you say that your perspective on what it means to age well has changed as you've gotten older?
Well, I guess the thing that was the biggest awakening is that I discovered that aging well doesn't come to you by default, um, either mentally or physically. Uh, and I've kind of learned that it requires
Mm-hmm.
some investment in the effort of aging well. And so that's what my activities, my exercise, and so forth is doing.
Mm-hmm. And what has surprised you most about this stage of life?
That I have never in my entire life been more comfortable with myself. And I find somehow that there's this aspiration of living in the moment, and I'm closer to that at this point in life than I ever was before.
And to me, that's so inspirational and aspirational. Where, as I've gotten older, I've started to feel more comfortable with myself, and to know that that only deepens, or I have the opportunity to deepen it as I get older too. So I just love to hear that. Something to look forward to.
I, and we deserve that.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've been touching on the fact that active aging isn't exclusively about physical activity. It's also about continuing to learn and connect with others and find purpose in the things that we do. Now, I do still want to focus on the physical activity. And I know you mentioned, Philly's a walkable city and you do some yoga. How would you say that physical activity, what role does that play in your life today?
I think of it as foundational
Hmm.
because, as I said before, the more you do, the more you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I might not feel like doing it every day, but I know it's in my own best interest to do at least a little every day. Just to walk around the city requires a certain amount of resilience. So for me, it's a good investment.
And what keeps you mentally active and curious?
Well, that's such an interesting question. I think to some degree, it's just a characteristic that I was born with. But, I'm repeating myself again, but there's so much here in Philly, and participating in organizations like FITCI, Friends in the City, helps because you get invitations to wonderful things you'd never think of doing yourself. And so I think being active with other people uh, is a wonderful way to keep at it.
And is there anything more that you want to say about the role that your friendships, family, and your community play in your life?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before, I grew up in a military family, which means that I moved a lot and I was perpetually the new girl.
Hmm.
That was like until I was in college. And nowadays, a lot of people think about moving to different communities when they're older and so on and so forth. Nothing gives me a bigger thrill than being out and about and having someone recognize me and say hi, because that's not any experience that I had when I was younger. And I just think the value of community is something we should never take for granted.
And you might have touched on it already, but I just want to focus on the word purpose because that's such a big part of life, and especially maintaining that purpose in a retirement portion of your life. So, what right now is giving you a sense of purpose?
Well, for me, it's my family. I am involved in several volunteer activities, which I think is
Mm,
really important. Um, doing for others is one of the three criteria they tout for happiness.
mm,
Uh, the the other two are social connections and gratitude.
mm.
So gratitude, having a social network, and doing for others are the purported keys to happiness. So, and the other thing that I've been focusing on, trying to focus on lately is just because we need it, is just being kind.
Mhm. Is there anything that you want to share about the volunteer work that you're doing?
Well, uh, after I retired, I was sort of leveraging what my career had been, and I produced websites for
Mm,
three different nonprofit groups. So I did that. I don't do that anymore because technology became a little bit of a challenge as I got older. And that's not a reflection on my age, that's a reflection on technology.
mhm,
But I do some volunteer work with HIAS, which is an immigration organization. And I guess it's volunteer work, but I volunteer for the Penn Memory Center. I'm just a study subject, uh,
mm.
probably a control subject. I don't really know, but I uh, I'm doing my third or fourth study for them.
Wow.
So that keeps me pretty busy. And I do a few other things as well. I've been doing a lot of political stuff lately too.
Well, thank you for everything that you're giving back to the community and being able to make a difference, where you've been living for 18 years and before, so 18 plus years.
18 plus 2.5.
So, of course, staying active, it's not going to mean that everything stays the same. And just an aspect of aging can also mean having to learn how to adapt. Have you had to adjust how you stay active or do the things that you enjoy as you've gotten older?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Um, my walks are shorter than they used to be. I mean, we used to love hiking. We don't do that anymore. It's just not a good idea for us.
Mhm.
Bedtime is earlier, which I'm now grateful for. And I find myself saying, huh, much too often. Huh? Much too often. Um, but aside from that, I haven't really adjusted to other
Mhm.
things much.
What's something you think people misunderstand about getting older?
Well, I'm very frustrated with what I see as rampant ageism. Anybody watching or listening to this podcast will understand that. Um, the the big secret is that people only look older. Inside, they're still the same people they were in their 30s and 40s, but I find a lot of people to be um, pretty patronizing with older people. Like I happen to come from a high-tech background, so I'm pretty techy. And when I go into a shop and people are explaining to me how to click a link,
Mm.
I get pretty upset about it. So I wish there was a way that we could deliver the message that old people are just young people inside old bodies.
And early days of the podcast, I had a gerontologist on, and she did her graduate studies on ageism. And a line that I keep close to my heart is ageism is discriminating against your older self. Because hopefully we all do get to become older and wiser, and all the wisdom that older adults have. It's just never made sense to me why there is ageism. I've just never understood it because there's nothing I love more than having a conversation with someone who has just years and years and years of life and experience.
It just goes in the bucket with all other isms, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
bias.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people will learn.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that, to the degree that I'm able, that I enjoy doing, is to disprove what being 80 looks like.
Would you prefer to age independently in your own home or live in a nursing facility? I know what I'd rather do. Friends Life Care membership offers just that. Plan today for a future lived at home with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience while protecting your savings. Learn about your options at a free seminar or webinar. Register at friendslifecare.org/register or call 215-628-8964. Welcome back to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR. Today I'm joined by Friends Life Care member Gerrie Schmidt for a conversation about active aging and what it means to stay engaged, connected, and doing the things that bring meaning and joy to our lives as we grow older. Another part of aging well is thinking about the future while, of course, continuing to enjoy the life that we're living right now. Since you're a Friends Life Care member, I'd like to hear from you what first got you thinking about planning ahead for your own aging and led you to become a Friends Life Care member.
Well, neither my husband nor I remember how we found out about Friends Life Care, but we found out shortly after we had moved here. We must have seen an ad or something, and we'd only been here a couple of months before a Friends Life rep came and met with us. And I think it's partly because we did know that we wanted to be independent, either
Mhm.
forever or for as long as possible. And it seemed such an attractive way to be able to do that. And we obviously don't want to, I mean, everybody feels that way. We don't want to be a burden on our kids. We wanted just to be independent in that regard too. So it's very comforting to know that Friends Life Care will provide someone to help manage details if and when we get to that point.
Has having a plan in place affected the way you approach your life?
I don't think about it a lot. I don't
Mhm.
have to, right? I,
Yes,
I feel
correct.
like I've done it. We did it 18 years ago. We should just keep moving.
Keep moving. I love it. The one thing I love about the idea of active aging is that there are always new things to experience and things to look forward to. What are you looking forward to at this point in your life?
That bucket list of places to travel, we made this conscious decision to compress it, as I said before, and now we just have to get out and do it. So, and of course, my grandchildren are getting older, and we're just really anxious to see what paths they choose for their lives. So, I think that those are the things that we look forward to most.
Are you willing to share what's number one on your travel bucket list?
Mine or my husband's?
Let's hear both.
Oh,
Both.
we're going to Scotland in September for his big birthday.
Mm.
Number one on my travel bucket list is New Zealand.
Oh, wow. I have the best time in Scotland, and I hope New Zealand is soon behind it.
Thank you very much.
So, what advice would you give someone who wants to stay active and engaged as they get older?
Here we go. I'm ready for this one. Just do it. Just do it. You're not going to find it in your easy chair in your living room. You have to find it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And lastly, if someone met you today, what would you want them to know about aging from your experience?
I've never been athletic. I talk about exercising a lot.
Hmm.
This is a recent development. It's one that I find extraordinarily rewarding, and I'm just doing it because I'm now physically stronger, and I would say that I experience less stress and more fun than I ever have before in my life.
Amazing. Well, Gerrie, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your experiences and perspective with us. It's been a pleasure.
Cheryl, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you for listening to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, a unique program focused on aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience. You can find links and show notes from this episode on our website at friendslifecare.org/podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with someone who might enjoy it, and join us next time as we continue exploring what it means to age honestly and age well.